So this is a case in which there is a trial of America's conscience. This is a case in which there is a test about the rule of law versus a rule of fear, a rule of corruption. In addition to this, no doubt whatsoever, one of the greatest crimes that we recognize that exists is the crime of silence when people are able to speak, when people are able to move, when people are able to do something about the situations that they see and they observe. Oftentimes, as Muslims, we bring up the story from the early seerah, in which in the early years of Islam, the political elite, whose status quo was being challenged, they started to torture some of the early followers who had no political protection. They tortured them in front of others to use them as a lesson. They tortured Sumayyah, the first martyr in Islam. They tortured her husband. They had no tribes in Mecca. And the Prophet ﷺ would pass by and one time was asked, Ad-dahru hakada, is our entire existence going to be like this? We're always going to be tortured? Will there be an end to this? Will there be something different of relief? And he said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the famous words, Sabran ala Yasir fa inna maw'idakum al-jannah. Be patient, hold on, O family of Yasir, for paradise is your destination. This part of the seerah is not for us to be complacent. This part of the seerah is because the Prophet ﷺ did everything he could, and the other companions as well. And oftentimes it's cited as a reason to simply share a motivational reminder or a dua, which is important. But we forget some of the most basic things possible is to speak up, is to be present, is to show up. What's louder than our chants here is the silence that is deafening from people who have influence, people who have capacity, people who have ability, people who have skills, people who have networks. And that every single person who raises awareness is valuable. Every person who's able to take in a cause and do something good with it, whether it's a dua or it's continuing the chain of awareness to others, is doing something right, is part of a greater collective facilitation of justice. In addition, it's a reminder for us, as Muslims, we know this, and this applies to all faith groups. If you are silent in a moment of oppression, you are oppressing. If you are silent in a moment of injustice, you're facilitating injustice. You're oppressing your soul and you're oppressing the cause. And by oppressing a cause, you might think, this doesn't affect me. A lot of people in this country, when they see what's happening currently here and around the world, they don't move to take action. They don't protest. Why? Because sometimes they think this doesn't affect me until it comes knocking on their door. And the reality for anyone who studied politics and history and just modern sociology is that it's already long gone that they've knocked on the door and broke it down. Every single facilitation of injustice is affecting every person in this country and around the world. Every violation of every right of Dr. Aafia and other political prisoners is a violation of all of our rights, regardless of our backgrounds. Long gone is the time in which you're waiting for someone to knock on your door to take your family, to arrest you and falsely accuse you. They're already doing that. They've already done that. And by being silent, we permit this type of oppression to continue different forms. In addition, there's no doubt whatsoever that it is our responsibility to figure out how not to burn out. I asked bluntly some of the people I know in Dallas before I flew over, what do you know about the protest? Are you going to be present? What do you know about the cause and the case? A lot of people said, honestly, I've attended many protests in the past. I've spoken about it before. I don't think anything I do is going to matter. And the lack of perseverance hurts. It's understandable from one lens that a person gets demoralized, but it's so important that you think about the one who's behind prison walls. You think about people who are being tortured and abused and falsely accused and separated from their families. They can't say, you know what, I'm done with it. They can't give up on the exhaustion. They keep going. And we keep going. No matter the cause, no matter the breath, no matter the heartbeats, no matter how many times it takes, that we show up. And that we don't belittle the act of showing up. Because if all you care about is instant gratification and results, then we forget about the fact that commitment to change, structural change, is one of the most difficult acts of worship in this world. Because it's slow and it's gradual. Systemic violence and structural injustice is very slow to address. But the reward is for the people who commit to the process, not just to the results. It's to be consistent, and it's to ask, if that were me, what would I want people to do? If that's my daughter, my son, my mother, my father, what would I want people to do? and you would scream to the world, please don't give up. Don't give up. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us consistency, recognizing that hope is resistance. Hope itself is resistance. Hope itself is resistance, and despair is forbidden. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us consistency. Once again, just remember this. Silence in the face of any oppression is a form of oppression. Silence in the face of injustice is a form of injustice. Silence in the face of oppression is a form of oppression. And silence in the face of injustice is a form of injustice. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those who never give up on the causes of justice regardless of who's on the other side. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to liberate and to reward Dr. Aafia and her entire family for their patience and all that they've gone through, and to make us amongst those who always show up. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from all of you as well for showing up and sacrificing this time for something that is worthy and noble. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to persevere. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.